Okay, so we're going to share this mic, and we're sharing our cell phones. And I want to introduce, in case you don't know, I'm Matt Molt. This is my wife. Go ahead. Yes.
I'm Lisa Molt.
I'm Jana Nunez.
Giovanni Molt. Giovanni Nunez.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We'll be done with that within an hour, maybe even a little bit sooner than that. And our goal today is to get some basic information about the Pasco campus launch, what that's going to look like, where we're going to be looking for volunteers, and then how you guys can get involved, and we'll do some Q&A and things like that. So it's going to be pretty basic information at the beginning here, and then we've got two things to get to you. One is, I don't know if they handed out a survey. Jeff, I can't see Jeff. Is he in here? Jeff's gonna, there's Jeff, nice, that was fast.
There you go. There you go.
Jeff, the survey, do you have those?
Yeah,
pens? We're gonna have you fill out a survey. Now, you won't be able to fill out the bottom part maybe until the ending of this, because it'll ask for some commitments for volunteering or interest. This is not like a commitment, and it's more of a survey, but at least the top part, if you could get that filled out just for being here, I want to say thank you for being here, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're gonna launch into the information. Lisa and I, when we first came to Tri-Cities, we really wanted to make sure we were somewhere central when we launched our church. The movie theater opened up. As some of you know that story, that is now the AMC movie theater, also the worst movie theater in the Tri-Cities. But come on, it was so fun when we had church in there. Who was here when we started church in the movie theater? Those were fun times. And so now when Lisa and I smell melted butter and popcorn, we just instantly start praising God, lifting our hands. It's just a powerful response. And since we started, we always felt like, man, maybe we should have been in Pasco, or we had a heart to be in Pasco. A lot of places had started church plants in West Pasco, and West Pasco is a beautiful area, but we really felt like, no, we needed to be in more central Pasco, or I called it East Pasco in my ignorance, meaning not West Pasco. But Central Pasco and East Pasco is actually a different place, so talking about Central Pasco. When we moved into this building, one other quick story, when we moved into this building and we had our first staff meeting here, I remember that we gathered together, kind of celebrated, hey, we got a rental place, a little bit more of a permanent location instead of a portable one. And in that, I remember I brought out some notes from when we first launched. It was 2 years prior, and I began to share with the team, hey, this has always been our hearts. This is not the end goal. The end goal is to reach the Tri-Cities. And we began to pray for Pasco and ask God to give us Pasco as part of where we're going to have a touch. And so that's why this is going to be our first campus. So those are some of the things that have been in our hearts from the very beginning. So I want to do that. Oh, and then any thoughts from you two? I was supposed to let you guys open up. I'm so used to opening meetings. Go ahead.
I'm just really excited, you guys. Like, even looking at you guys right now, it's really an exciting time. So.
That was very good, since I didn't see my notes there. All right, so here is our current plan of what we're going to do. Our goal is by our 8-year anniversary, which would be the third weekend in September. We have to lay out some plans. Some of this could get erased or moved a little bit, but by the third weekend of September, we'd like to launch our Pasco campus. Pasco campus will be what we call a portable campus. So there's, in church plant campus world, you have permanent locations where you rent a building and you can use it all week long, it's yours. Portable would be a location that you rent only for services, kind of like the movie theater was for us when we first started. So we're going to start with a portable location, meaning that we will set up and tear down inside somebody else's building as we launch. We will also start with an 11 a.m. service, just one service, and that gives us room to grow, and the next service we would add would be a 9 a.m. service, so it would be duplicate. The reason we want to start with the 11 a.m. is because it's going to be a video venue service. It will have live worship in Pasco. We'll have a live band, live pastors. We'll go through all the things that will be live. And then just like, how many of you have ever been in venue 2? Could you raise your hand if you've been in venue 2? If you were in venue 2 in the early days, you know that we had a live band and then it would switch to video preaching from here. You guys remember that? So that's essentially what it'll be like there. So if we start with an 11 a.m. service in Pasco, we can record the 9 a.m. here and drive it over there while we're working out the technology to do a live broadcast. So it'll feel live, except it'll be the 9 a.m. service from here. It'll become the 11 o'clock service there. Here's the thing, here's the area that we're looking at. We want to be between Court Street, or somewhere near Court Street, and somewhere between the Blue Bridge and the White Bridge, somewhere kind of in that zone. There's a couple reasons for that. There's thousands of homes right in that area. Right out, if you take 395 North and you take Court Street and turn right, it's kind of had a revival. A lot of new buildings, a lot of the restaurants have been rebuilt. Starbucks, it's the nicest, newest Starbucks right there, for instance. So that area is getting a revival. We want to be close to that. We also want to be close to Columbia Community College. We want to be close to Pasco High School.
Right.
And then all those families. So that for us is the strategic area about why we want to be there. Here's the why that we're doing this. 4 reasons why we're doing this campus. Number 1, we first and foremost believe that this is the leading of the Holy Spirit for us as a church. So you need to know that it's not just strategy. We actually feel that God's leading us to do this, all right? That's number 1. Number 2, our vision has always been to plant campuses around the entire Tri-City area. Some of you know this, some of you don't. I don't talk about it a lot, but when we first got ready to plant this church, I remember Lisa's first prophetic kind of vision she had in praying for the church. I'll let her tell that in just a second. But my first time in praying, where I felt like God gave me a prophetic picture, I saw an old Portland-style water fountain that they have in downtown Portland that are made of brass, and they have different spigots on them. And I saw 5 spigots, 5 water things. And the ones in Portland actually have 3, and you can come up and 3 different people at a time can drink. But I saw one that had 5 when I was praying for our church. This is before we moved here. And so I always remember, man, God, you're going to give us 5 locations. When I got to the Tri-Cities, I found out that there's not just 3 cities, but you really actually have West Richland and West Pasco, and as the bigger entities. Do you want to tell them your first prophetic vision for the church?
If I could just back up just a second, I think that our heart, when I think back, when we originally started to think, okay, we're going to church plant, what does that look like? What are we going to do? I always envisioned the church multicultural, young and old. I never saw the church as one particular thing, and I think that's what the church should be. I think that the young need the old, and I think that the old need the young, and I think that all races should gather together in the church. And there's an issue if we can't do that. And so I just remember that when we didn't know very much about the area at first, and I felt like every prophetic word that we got was about just being, like even our leadership team would have all races represented, and it was just interesting. But even before that, I remember we were praying, and I felt like God gave me a vision of a lot of people. But what was interesting to me is that all these people had their hands raised, and as they were holding their hands, it was just different colors. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, And so that was like the first vision that I felt like I had for the church. I think that anytime that we have thought about doing anything, outside just the central area, it takes faith. And so this is encouraging that you guys are interested in it, but just, if anything else, just be in prayer that God would continue to put all the pieces together for us too.
Here's the other couple whys that we're doing this. So one was that we believe it's the leading of the Holy Spirit. Second, we always had a vision to do this. Third, Pasco, I think, needs a church of our flavor. Now let me say it this way, there's some great churches over there I'm friends with, and I love them. I love those pastors dearly, like they're friends. But there's a need for the flavor that we have. And Jan and Giovanni kind of talked about what's so vibrant about our church for them, they think will be vibrant in Pasco, is that we're grace-oriented and we're there's an encouragement. We want to encourage people to really find life in God and stuff. So I think that there's a niche for us that's not being met in that central Pasco area. So that's number 3. Number 4, of why we're doing this is many people in our churches have a passion to extend our influence into the city of Pasco. How many of you would say this is really like Pasco really kind of burns in your heart to some degree? You kind of already have like something. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, I want to go over the who real quick, and we're going to get into the who is going to do this. This is going to be New Vintage Church in Pasco. Can I just say it like that? So it's us. So we're going to have leadership over it. It's sponsored by New Vintage Church. It's initiated within our church. It wasn't that Jana and Giovanni or anybody else came to us and said, what if we did this? Could we do this as an outreach? No, this is a New Vintage vision. It's part of our plan. And we're going to train and release a bunch of volunteers, hopefully a bunch of you people in the room here, to help launch the campus. We're hoping that you can play a significant part, but we're going to ask all of New Vintage to play some part, whether in prayer, attending, volunteering, financial giving. We're going to rally the church before September to everybody get involved, but obviously we want to raise up teams. I do want to say this, that here's how the kind of hierarchy would go. It would be Pastor Matt and Lisa and the elders as oversight. It would be the staff of New Vintage Church are also in support of this to help make it happen and help launch all the necessary teams that will be over there. Jana and Giovanni will be the campus pastors of that church campus. So what that means is their primary role are these 4 things. Number 1, they will MC the services and make sure that that they start and end the services, dismiss and do the offering, all those different little pieces like that. They'll train up other people to do that as well. Secondly, they'll gather the team leads. So their goal will be to make sure that if we go, hey, you're going to be the head usher and worship leader over there and kids ministry, head of production, they're going to make sure that all the key leaders are ready to go each and every Sunday. That'll be their key role. Third, their role will be to make sure details for Sunday are ready. And fourth, provide pastoring to a growing campus and helping to look for future small group leaders and other people that can get involved. So we're going to be relaunching what's called Connect class. Would you raise your hand if you've been in a Connect class previously? We used to do this. Okay, we're going to relaunch that here in 2 weeks. Jana and Giovanni almost completed it. We're hoping they do before they become members of this church. But we're also, when we launch in September, we will start Connect class at that site immediately. So we can get people connected, become members, get involved, get on volunteer teams and things like that instantly. So that will be our plan. The other part of the hierarchy after Jan and Giovanni would be the team leads and then the team volunteers. So that's kind of how it goes. So it's really a part of us. We shared the where we want to be, and we actually have a portable location we're looking at right now. That is it okay to share what we're currently looking at? I'm looking, yeah, I think so? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm looking at my elders and stuff. Here's where we're currently looking. We're looking at, I think it's 18th Street, right between Court and Sylvester. There's a building that actually our church has a small, short history with for youth ministry. It's the Boys and Girls Club. It's literally like in the parking lot of the Edgar Brown football stadium, which everybody knows where Edgar Brown Stadium is. It's the Boys and Girls Club there. It used to be an elementary school. I think it's probably 15 or 20,000 square feet. Got a gymnasium that would be the sanctuary. Plenty of classrooms. We've got a lot of equipment for kids already there. A lot of things like that. So we're looking at that. We're beginning to get information back and forth from them. Jeff just brought that to our attention here this last week, and it really fit a need for us. All right, with that, we're going to get to Q&A. I'm going to hand it over to Giovanni and Jana to share about some of the other details here.
We're not doing Q&A yet.
No.
So, how to get involved? Filling out that paper that Jeff passed out is the first thing, just so we know we're going to need about 60, 65 volunteers, so we kind of get a base and know where to start, right? So that's the first thing there. Attending upcoming team event trainings. And Jana will speak on that here in a little bit. She's going to give the dates. If you guys could, that's why we're recording this for the people that didn't make it today. If you guys could, attend. Thank you. If you guys could attend all these trainings, that'd be great. So like that, we're growing together, and there's going to be once a month until like lunch, September. What's before September? August. All right. We'll probably start squeezing in a couple more. So yeah. Gotcha. So I was reading. So the way that we're gonna kind of learn as we go here is we're gonna take over venue 2. So as volunteers and as us as volunteering for this, we're gonna take over venue 2. So for example, like our ushers are gonna take off with us to Pasco. We're gonna have ushers in venue 2. We're gonna have our prayer team in venue 2. We'll probably be leading venue 2 a lot more. Okay. Fourth, being financially invested in this. It's not. I mean, we're a pretty giving church, I would say. I think we do our part. But launching off the Pasco campus is going to be, we're going to have to buy all of this all over again. Even though we're going to be a portable, we're still going to have to buy good quality, speakers, mics, cameras, all that. Well, not cameras because we're not recording it over there, but eventually. But chairs. We're just going to have to buy good quality. I mean, we don't want to. Our main thing is, if we're going to be Pasco MVC, we want it to look just as good over there as here. We don't want it to look broken down or anything like that. We want it to be as inviting as this is, so it could grow like this is, So that's the financial side is definitely a big key to it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work on my smile right now. Right on, I'm working on it.
Sure.
And I just lost my place. Getting the ball right. So yeah, on that. So serving, being part, like PMAT said, we're gonna launch off our what's it called? The classes that we're gonna do? Connect classes. We're gonna launch off Connect classes. Everybody needs to go through Connect classes. Once again, this is a.
You mean if they join the team, they should go through Connect classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you guys are gonna go over there, well, either way, you guys gotta go through Connect class. I mean, it's nice to know the roots, right? And like PMAT said, it's this here going over there. That's what's going to be amazing about it. We're not launching off something new. We're not going to, preach something new over there. It's what's here, expanding it to Pasco, and that's the beauty of it. We're gonna, like PMAT said, the way that the Molts, I would have to say, the way that the Molts preach here is so different. It's all about. It's not all about grace, because today was a spanking. Inside joke, my bad. It was good, but they preach a lot on grace, and in there's a lot of churches that when I started going to church, there was a lot of churches that taught out of fear, and that's why I stuck here, because I know what I was doing wrong already. I didn't want someone at the pulpit tell me or point it out, right? And the grace factor here is just amazing, because like PMAT said today, if we say yes to him, then that means we're doing everything great, everything good, right? If we say yes to God, we're doing everything good. So, getting back into my notes, it's that, like, if you guys grab onto what MBC is here, we're gonna do amazing at Pasco over there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and just one other point on that too is, like, we want you guys to go and invite people to come and also serve and be a part of Pasco, but we also want to make sure that there's still really good people here. So if they're already serving someone here, you know, they don't need to necessarily go to Pasco. They can pray, they can maybe invest financially. So let's not like steal all the good people from here, because you guys are all the best people.
I'm standing here.
Okay, so why do we want to be involved in Venue 2? Why are we starting out by taking over Venue 2? There's a couple points to that. One is to learn to take ownership of it. When you know that you're a part of something, you tend to really be excited about it a little bit more. So Venue 2 is a really great way to, when we get excited about Venue 2, then we can be excited about Pasco. We can be excited about doing something that's not just in Venue 1. So that's one point. The second point is to become invitees. So to learn how to, like, hey, let's go to Venue 2. Let's, you know, it may not be the main where the preacher's at, but it's still a really good service. And so learning how are we going to word that right in a way that is inviting and they're still getting something out of it. Number 3, to look for areas of need to fill in and help with. So when we go to Pasco, I mean, I can almost guarantee that there's going to be times where we're going to have to fill in different places that we didn't sign up for, including us. You know, we're going to have to help in areas maybe that is not like sitting down. And so that is a really good thing to learn over there, is to just, you know, how do we fill it now? How can we start it now?
Yeah, and can I just say something?
Yeah.
If you join the launch team, you'll have the once a month meetings, but then you start rotating on serving in Venue 2. And what will happen is, when you are responsible as a team for Venue 2, and you recognize, man, these lights aren't bright enough, or this is turned off, or the sound's too loud or too quiet, or this, you'll want to help do it instead of just walking out and go, I'm going to go find a seat in Venue 1. Like, it produces a sense of ownership, and let's fix this, let's do it. That is the spirit of entrepreneurship that has to be. It's like launching another church. Even though it's our church, it has that same quality, and you have to kind of come in with eyes that go, not just, I'm going to point out what's wrong, but I can fix that. I'm going to jump in. And so that's part of that entrepreneurial spirit that will form when you guys are a team helping with Venue 2.
That's good. And then the last point is just to become more welcoming to guests. So to know that when they come in, like, we also have to take ownership of Venue 2 for Pasco, but we also have to, like, hey, like, welcome to New Vintage, and let's walk them over there, you know? And so it's not just like, it kind of, sometimes I think we get into that routine of just like, let's go to Venue 1, because it's live. You know, people sometimes will ask in Venue 2, right? Like, where's the live preacher at? And so just knowing that it's okay to have it fun and welcoming in Venue 2 also. And then one more thing that we didn't mention, I think we can. Just so you guys know too, me and Giovanni are actually volunteering pastoring too. So we're actually not even getting paid for it, because our hearts really are to serve New Vintage and to serve Pasco. So just like, we are on the same playing field here, just so you guys know that.
Okay, I want to tell you a couple of the cost factors, and then we'll go into Q&A, okay? So here's a couple cost factors. We think that if we launch in September, late in September, so it'll be like 3.5 months, but we're booking on 4. Operational costs for rental, supplies, things like that, we're looking around $4,000 a month to have the service over there. Here's the bulk chunks of equipment. Chairs, I won't go through all the details, but I'll tell you the categories. We're going to need chairs, sound equipment, signage. We're going to do a little bit of online advertising, kids' classroom equipment, computers, coffee, startup equipment. Come on, we cannot do the church without coffee. And printing, some video equipment, lighting. We think we can do all of that equipment for about $50,000 for this campus, and about $16,000 we want to budget for the ongoing monthly expenses. The way we think we can raise that money is this. We think, I'm going to really try to push our church to become better givers. Here's what I mean by that. I just know by statistics. I have a liberty to, and I could check, excuse me, but I don't check people's giving records, unless they're going to be leadership typically. It's very rare that I would check somebody's giving records. I don't have anything to do with that. I'm not in on the counting of the money or anything like that. So everybody just rest peacefully here that I'm not singling anybody out. But I can tell you this, that in a room this size, I could say probably about from here over, this amount of people give regularly 10% of their income, and this amount give trinkle in once in a while as they feel led. I want to shoot for a standard, especially for people who are going to be on the volunteer team, to say, hey, we're going to be financially invested. And I want our whole church to go, hey, we want to increase our giving, make it a regular part of our budget. If we can't get to 10% yet, we start with 4 or 5, we grow, and it becomes a regular part of our Christian faith, our Christian walk. Can I get an amen on this? So I'm going to try to really encourage our entire church to become regular givers and giving 10% of their income to help see the gospel move forward. Also, so if we do that, I think we can raise our regular growth in giving 50 grand by the end of the year, above and beyond this last year. Then one-time donor gifts. I'm hoping that we can find people in this room, people outside to go, you know what, we love the cause, we're going to give $1,000 towards this endeavor. It's just an above and beyond offering. I think we could probably raise around $50,000 that way. And then we think we can save some money on discounts on the equipment we need to buy, if we shop well. So we think we can raise probably between $100,000 and $110,000 between now and launch, and it gives us a little bit of surplus for unknown things. So I think we can get there if we just get on board and go, hey, we're going to own this thing. Like, what if there was no New Vintage Church and it was just us? Could God use just us? Could we spread the gospel, start a church in that city that could produce other churches, other campuses? The answer is yes. Like, that's the power of the gospel, right? So we have to kind of have that vision, that ownership of that. So those are the basic costs in starting up. And then the other thing I want to give you before we go Q&A is just the things that will happen at what we're going to call central, and what ministries will happen at the campus, okay? So for instance, these are the things that will happen at the campus location. We will have a full worship experience, band, live band, all of that. We will have on-site campus pastors, and our staff will be rotating over there each week as well. Okay, we will have full child care for the services, so there'll be children's classrooms as well. Connect class will happen at that campus. Small groups will form and launch right away at that campus. Prayer ministry teams will be available at the campus, and then coffee, welcoming, and security teams will happen at that campus. Here's the things that would happen centrally, where people that attend Pasco would come to events here. And this is at least in our starting formation. Gravity would still be here. So kids that start coming to Pasco campus, we'll tell them, hey, we have a great youth ministry, it's by the mall. And we'd send them to that. Flourish, the women's ministry, would happen here to start. And Fresh Start would also still happen here until we raise up somebody, if somebody has a passion to do that kind of ministry over there. So those are the things that we kind of see as a balance for those pieces. Okay, so dates, and then we'll do a Q&A.
Okay, you guys ready? So our next meeting will be March 18th, and it's going to be right after second service, so about 12:30. We will have lunch, it'll be fun. And then April will be April 15th, same time, right after second service. May will be May 20th. And June will be June 10th. July will be July 15th. And August will be August 12th. And that's it.
Those dates be on the calendar.
Yeah, we're going to actually have, we have a sheet with a lot more details that we're going to hand to you guys, but that PDF will be online, and those dates will be online. So the next week or so, you'll see that on the app and on the website, and the video will be along with that, so people can watch the video, download those different things, and have those dates. Okay, let's do some Q&A. Any questions that you guys have about this? So we're sure you do. Yeah.
So considering the location and engage and familiarize the community with our vision and who we are before we launch.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, we will repeat it for the video and for everybody as well. The question was basically, how do we get that community aware of our vision and that we're coming and that kind of thing. And I'm going to let you guys answer first as best you can, which I trust you to do just amazing.
So we have discussed about that. I think the main thing is when we start moving towards that way, probably July, August, what we're gonna do is have like small gatherings at whatever building we end up at. We're gonna have small gatherings, like probably go through like soft services. At first, if we were gonna go into a building, we're gonna do like a barbecue over there while we painted, right? Invite people from the community and just have them come out. Have a big sign says, like that one that looks amazing, Pasco with the NBC logo, and just just feed people, have communion, have like a barbecue out there, and let them know that we're coming, right? Because I do know a little about myself. Obviously, I look brown. I am. So, come on. I know a little bit about, you got to get to know. It's a culture thing. It's a culture thing with his. If I could just speak Hispanics in general, we don't open up if it doesn't feel inviting, if it doesn't feel real. The fake doesn't fly, right? So if we're raw, if we're real, if we're not feeding them but then sticking a pamphlet under their, if we're not doing that, if we're just being real with them, they're gonna come back. And we're starting to see it here. Like Pastor Lisa said, we're starting to see the just different colored hands right here, because we're raw. We're at least I hope we're non-cliquish, right? So that's how the plans are gonna be. We're gonna start having little barbecues, little hot chocolate with conchitas and make it happen.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I worked at Pasco for a while, for years. And so yeah, the community there is very much like, they want a relationship first. And so that is something that we are going to really try to encourage too, is like, yeah, we want to go in there, we don't just want to show up and be like, we're here. Like, we want to go in and make the relationships, have meetings, talk to people that are in the community first. So yes.
Yeah, we are going to do some online advertising too, just to let people know that we're coming and they can be part of that. But the reality is we can provide the welcoming, but the way we grew our church is we invited people that we met to church. And so what I'm going to say is this: people will not come to Pasco because you pray them in. They will come because you invite them in and pray for them. So if you pray all you want, but if you never invite, people are not just going to magically show up. That's not how it happens. So raise your hand if you live in Pasco, would you? I know that not everybody does here. So what I see is like people who live in Pasco, you invite your neighbors. Go, hey, my church is starting a campus over here in Pasco. You'd love it. You should come with me sometime. That's what happens. So stats are like 85% of people who ever go to a church for the first time go because they were invited by a friend. So we're going to work that. So if you go, well, that's not me, I just want to pray. Well, this is not the campus for you. That'll be a different campus someday, somewhere. I don't know where. I'm looking for people who can engage with people, be friendly, help with the barbecues, go do the service projects, but talk to people. That's a necessary element of growing a church. So you are all, in Jesus' name, evangelists right now. Boom. Okay? You like that? You just became evangelists.
Well, just to go off what you said, that our church grew, and it grew pretty quickly because I think there's a pioneer spirit on our church. And so people invited people. We did not advertise until last year. Our 7th year was our very first year that we ever advertised. and we were on TV, people. It was a big one, right? You guys are all so serious. It was a big deal. We were on TV. Anyways, okay. But the point being is that we invited. That's all we did. And we don't have to sell the gospel sells itself. But we have to do our part, which means making a connection, loving people, being generous to them, being, all those things. And then, God can do the rest. We just have to do our small part.
It's a great question. Other questions?
So if I want to start giving now to Pasco, how can I do this? We like a drop down push pay or something?
Yeah, so we are going to finalize this probably in the next 2 weeks. The question was, if somebody wanted to financially give right now, this is my favorite question, because we need this, one of my favorites, is how do I do that? So you'll see a drop-down menu on our online giving that will just say Pasco Campus. So any funds that come in for that would go towards the purchase of the equipment. So we don't have those things finalized. We kind of want to have an information meeting. We want to find out if 4 people showed up or 50, we needed to kind of know, but we will have that here pretty quickly. There's another question back there. Yeah.
Do you have any plans on how you're going to reach to the Spanish-speaking only?
Okay, so the question is, do we have a plan for reaching the Spanish-speaking community? So here's the thing, most of the Spanish-speaking community speaks English as well that we will reach, because we're an English-speaking church. So we've talked about this at length, that we're going to do our services in English, and so we'll reach a lot of second generation and third generation Hispanics, but we're not initially going to have like a Spanish-speaking service. Now, these guys have it in their heart to want to do that down the road, and so that will be something we'll add, but we're not trying to build a Spanish-speaking service because we're in Pasco. There's actually other nationalities in Pasco too, and I'm not making fun of your question, it's a legitimate question. I'm saying that we're going to be our church over there that's open to all the different races, but we do hope to have, because Pasco is primarily Hispanic, we want to reach a lot of Hispanics, absolutely. But it'll be an English-speaking service with a little, a little Cholula sprinkled on top. You know what I'm saying? Like little flavor. Am I the only white person on this panel? I am. Keep going on. All right. Anybody else? Another question?
I like how you said the gospel will ultimately be what changes people's lives. But do we have any plan to partner with anybody in the community as far as needs and poverty and addiction? Because it's safe for me to assume that in that area there is a greater need and more poverty and more homeless people. So once the lights go out, where can we refer them when we don't have anywhere to send them?
We get a lot. The question was asked for the video, what resources will we do for people that are in poverty and things like that. We currently have a similar situation here because, we know a couple of homeless people, for instance, that we know where they live around here at night, and they come to our church sometimes, and so there's places that we're aware of. There's a lot of services in Pasco that are there. I want us to also think this way, though. We've got to be a little bit careful in our mindset that because it's Pasco, it doesn't mean that everybody's poor. Like some of those families are working really hard and they're not in the greatest homes right off the bat, but it's because they're working towards something. So we have to just be aware of our mindset that there's going to be a lot of just really great middle-class families that are going to come in. There are our needs, but we know places that we have a guy who goes to our church who actually is one of the main head guys. I forget the name of the organization.
CAC. CAC.
CAC, right. And so we refer people from here and we'll refer people from there. They have a network of resources available. So we will have ways to help people that are in real need, as for sure. So it's a great question.
Yeah, so the paper they handed out was a Pasco launch team application. So without prayer and talking to the wife, I can't really fill that out. And we're 7 o'clock services and we love the 7 o'clock service. But that obviously frees us up for 11 o'clock. If someone needed to greeters, prayer team, whatever, to volunteer over at 11 and still stay at 7. Is there an avenue to do that? Would we be able to do that?
Definitely. We're going to do that because we love 7 o'clock too. So, the question was, if you attend 7 o'clock service, could you still serve over there for the 11 o'clock? And yeah, most definitely, we love 7 o'clock service as well. I think it's the best service prior to the 11 o'clock when it opens over there. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the more word, the better. Go ahead.
So I missed the beginning. I know that you guys were talking about the times of service that's going to be over there. So it's just going to be 11 o'clock, no 11 o'clock here. Is that no? Or how?
No.
Okay. So how?
So the question was that if we're gonna cancel 11 o'clock here and move up 11 o'clock over there. No, we're still gonna have our 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We're gonna have an 11 o'clock in Pasco, which is actually gonna be the recording of our 9 o'clock here. So, yeah, it's an additional service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
So-
ever anticipate that changing to have a live speaker at Pasco? Is that a goal?
No.
So the question was, will we ever have live preaching over there?
Yeah.
We'll intentionally do it probably 3 or 4 times a year, okay? But what will happen is, what we're trying to do, just so you're aware, a lot of the thoughts and processes for this has come from some of the ARC churches and what we like to say is proven models, things that we've seen other churches do that have been advanced with multiple campuses, multiple services, what worked for them. So we've researched that kind of thing a lot. The biggest, fastest growing church in the history of the world is Church of the Highlands in Birmingham, Alabama, Pastor Chris Hodges. He's an ARC pastor. And so what he does is they have, I think, 8 or 9 campuses, and they probably do 4 services a day at those. It's 50,000 people in the Birmingham area. We're in church today at that one church. It's pretty incredible. And they have something like 40,000 people in small groups, just saying. They're doing a good job there. Over 50,000 in small groups. Okay. Yeah, so ARC is a network of churches. It just stands for Association of Related Churches. And they have just a lot of resources. So it's like pastors sharing information. So their model is that Pastor Chris preaches at the main campus. He's only preached at another campus one time, but then a few times during the year when they have like a prayer focus or things like that, they'll intentionally do that. So for instance, if we bring in a guest speaker, if we brought in Judah Smith and he was going to preach here on a Sunday, it would be like he was preaching at Pasco because it would be broadcast there. Now the change that will happen is instead of just going a recording of the 9 a.m. from here and driving it physically on like a disc, eventually we want to get the technology and pieces worked out where we can actually live do it so that when we go to the 9 and 11, we're going to need that. So, but it gives us just a little buffer to get some of that technology stuff worked out. Go ahead, more questions are great.
Do you guys, are we eventually assume that that's going to be a fully campus, staff campus, sorry. So we'll have campus pastors, but are you assuming to have a youth group that's specific to each campus, or are we trying to do localized as well? Like that.
Yeah, dude.
I think for right now, the question is, will the Pasco campus have its own staff, including like their own youth group and down the road? I'm not quite sure if I really know the answer to that. I know for right now, no. We have a real strong youth ministry here, and so it wouldn't make sense for us to not keep it here. Sorry, where's my ring? I was like, anyways, but so I don't know exactly how that would look like in the future. Personally, I think that we keep it central and we gather all of our youth together. I think that there's power in the numbers, and we've got great youth pastors. And so we could have like assistant youth pastors at campus, so we could have, that's kind of how I see it, but I don't know if that's how Matt sees it. But I'm just going to tell you what I think. I do see us as like with assistant youth pastors maybe at certain locations that would represent the youth group there. and would be a connection to the central place. That's kind of how I see it. And now Matt is going to tell us the real answer.
That's right. No, just to add to that, one of the things that ARC has found is that like the key positions that you have to have a campus pastor, somebody who can lead the teams. They said one of the next things you have to have, it's probably a stipend or staff person, is going to be a production person, especially when you start going live, because if everything else is working great with volunteers, but if you don't have somebody who knows what they're doing, and you probably have to pay that person to kind of help make sure the video stuff's working, they said that's like a really key piece. I think as the campus grows, we will start to employ people. I'll start to stipend them for their time and effort that they're doing a little bit, but they have their own businesses that they want to continue with as well. I will probably start to hopefully pay for some children's ministry and hopefully, administration. Hopefully it grows and we will add some staff. But probably for the first 6 months to a year, we're looking at doing this as a current NBC staff and an army of you guys and volunteers going, hey, I can help. I can pitch in and I can do something. We can make this happen. We didn't have any staff. The church that I came from paid our salary when we got here, and we just was an army of volunteers. So I've seen that work. So we're going to launch that way, and we'll add staff as needed and as we grow.
Will this campus have campus pastors?
We're supposed to.
Maybe. Yes?
Yes, it will eventually.
Yes, eventually this campus would have campus pastors.
And then we would become the lead pastors, but not the campus pastors, because we want Pasco and Richland, wherever we go, to feel like they all have their own pastor and have lead pastors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that is a model we're going to work towards, but we don't have that figured out yet.
And I know that we haven't talked, other than when we first launched, about like our vision, about how we see Tri-Cities. So it almost feels kind of weird, like, oh, we're telling them all our visions and our dreams, but in a sense, like that was in our hearts when we pioneered a church, was that eventually that we would touch the city. And not saying that there's not other great churches in the area, there absolutely is, but we knew that God spoke to us that we were going to have 5 different churches in 5 different cities in this area. Although we haven't said that, I haven't, so it almost feels a little funny that we're like saying the things that have been on our heart, but that was something that God spoke to us at the very beginning.
I have a question. It's probably similar to his. I was thinking, will there later be in the Pasco campus a youth service with Pastor Austin, like another different day in Pasco? Just because I worked at New Horizons for like a year, and I know that, you know what, it would be awesome to have the awesomeness here with Pastor Austin over there in Pasco, like on a different day.
So the question was, could we get Austin to go over to Pasco and do a youth group over there? Austin, Ken, and the team. Here's the thing, we have to see who comes. I have faith in my heart that we're going to launch this campus with about 225 to 250 people, and it's going to grow.
Wow.
So as it grows, and if we have youth coming, and we have enough, and we have limited facilities here, then we begin to look at that. Initially, we're not going to do that. Initially, our plan is to invite those students to come to the Great Youth Group here. Now we'll adjust as we go. And listen, this is what New Vintage is. We change everything. Because we grow, we run out of room, we just have to change things. But that's our initial plan.
Do you or Jeff know how many seats roughly that gym holds? To start off, just wondering how much room is available for that 11 o'clock service?
Okay, the question was asked, how many seats are in there? It looked to me, without being able to measure, we walked through and there was tiny munchkins running all around being very, very noisy. It looks like we could fit about 250 to 300 chairs in there. So this one, we have 290 some chairs set up right now, similar in shape and size to this, but it has a stage built in. So it has the potential to grow to 250 adults plus probably 100 kids, and then a second service. So there's room to grow in that portable location. Daryl.
Do we have a contingency if there's a technology problem and the video doesn't record properly?
Yeah, the contingency plan is these guys preach live. And that happens in the process of studying the other models. They say that that happens, so they have to have some sermons just ready. And if it glitches out, internet goes down, Gianna preaches, Giovanni preaches, and they have church. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good question. Let me do this. Some of you might have more specified questions that might not apply to the whole group, but you still want to ask it. What we're going to do is, you've got this application form. Some of you might go, man, I already know that I'm going to be on board on some things, so you can fill that out and leave it at the desk. Jeff will be out there. We're going to hand you on your way out a little more detailed sheet. It's got more details to it, and it's full color. That's how you know it's just different than what you have there, and it's a couple pages. And it has the contact information of not Jan and Giovanni. It has Jeff's contact, who's at the church. It's got the church phone number, Jeff's email. So if you have questions, you want to direct it through somebody at the staff, they can funnel it and they'll get it to Jan and Giovanni. You can still talk to them directly. What our plan is to go, hey, once we get like 40 or 50, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we have 40 or 50 people who said, I'm going to help at least once a month, maybe a couple times a month, but I'm going to help make that my campus. I'm going to go attend, I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to be a volunteer. If we can get to 35 or 40, that's my break number. If we don't have enough people to do it, it's not going to happen. But if we go, hey, we got 35 or 40 people that are committed as core volunteers, boom, we start our launch plan with meetings. We start taking more steps forward. So we want to hear from you today or very shortly. If you go, I'm going to jump in and help on this. It's in my heart. I want to do it. So we want to hear from you about that.
Just real quick, these are all really great questions, and I just want you guys to know that we've talked about like almost all these questions. Like, we know that there's so many what ifs, and we're stepping into something new. And so if we go in there and say there is someone that is in need of something, or say that, you know, the youth service gets, you know, crazy full here, and there's like a bunch of kids that want to come here and can't find a ride, like we are going to be working on accommodating that. So just know that we're not going in there like this, it's, you know, this, and that. Like, we are, like Pastor Matt said earlier, like always changing. We're always looking to see what the need is. So we love to hear your feedback. Like, that's why we love to hear these questions.
And I think we skipped out a little bit. So if we could trace back, I would like to, before we end, I would like to give you guys a little history on us, as far as me and Jana. We skipped, I think we did skip it, right? Oh, we're not supposed to. Okay, never mind. I just feel like if you're going to be invested, right? If I'm going to be invested, you guys are investing in us four as well, right? So I'm not going to give you my whole story because it's too long. But we started at NBC when we were at the movie theater, and when we decided to go all in, because there was a group of 5-6 people that decided to just show up to our house and help us out with a need that we had. We were going through some spiritual battles that we didn't know that were spiritual battles. So that night, I decided to go all in. I decided to leave my past, leave what I was used to, leave what I had done, and go all in with this church called MBC. So we got baptized. We went to 2 out of 4 of the Connect classes. Almost all of them, halfway through. We got invested. We got invested in small groups. We got invested in ushering. We got invested in, any place that we could have served, we served, because we wanted to serve. We wanted to give back. I wanted to be those 5 people that came to my house. You know what I mean? I wanted to be one of those 5. Because those 5 people are game changers in my life. When I still see them here at this church, there's something happens to my spirit when I see them, because they have a huge part of that. So having that said, yeah, you know, like P-Matt said, we run two businesses. We're fortunate to run two businesses that are that help us be part and not like working a steady schedule to where we could be flexible and attend services and attend meetings that we have in the middle of the daytime. It's a huge blessing, and I feel like God has prepared me for this, right? Because I have always wanted to reach out. I've always wanted to see a change in youth. I have a huge heart for youth. It's going to be a sad day for me when PMAT tells me that I can't attend Gravity anymore. You know, it's going to be a sad day because I love youth. I love Austin's vision. I love what's happening in this church. So just to say again, we are part. Just because we're up here doesn't like it. To me, I've always seen. I consider myself a leader. I don't consider myself a pastor, even though it says campus pastors. I'm a leader, and there's two ways of leadership in my eyes. There's the leader that sits in the back and whips the crowd so the crowd can go forward, or the leader that goes in the front and takes the rein and takes the crowd forward. And I have always seen myself as the leader that takes the crowd forward. So if there's a gap that needs to be missed, if there's a toilet that needs to be cleaned, before I point the finger, I will be doing it. So count me in and link in arms with you guys.
Amen.
Well, that is it, and we are going to wrap up this meeting by just praying and kind of dedicating everything that's ahead of us to the Lord. So can we stand up and do that? I'm going to take that as a yes. We will be available for questions in the lobby. All right, we're going to pray. Like, we are going to pray. All right. Jesus, we're so thankful for all that you're doing in our city. Lord, we dedicate each and every plan that we have talked about today. Lord, we dedicate it to your will. We ask for open doors to open, for us to go through the right doors at the right timing. Lord, that you would direct every step that we take. And Lord, we ask that you would flood the city of Pasco with your presence. God, I'm asking for salvations to come forth. I'm asking for there be an awakening of souls. I'm asking, God, for the youth to be stirred in that city. So, Lord, we pray today for souls. God, we're asking for souls, souls, souls. Jesus, that many would come to know you, Lord. And I just don't even just pray for our own campus as we get ready to launch. But God, I'm asking for every church in our city that already has roots there, that are already doing what you've called them to do. And we're asking, Lord, that you would just touch our entire region, Lord, that you would cause churches to grow, that you would cause people to be hungry, that you would cause people to be open to the gospel, Lord. Draw people to you, Jesus, and use us in the process. So, Lord, we dedicate our lives even today, God, that whatever it is that you would want us to do, that our ears would be open to hear from you, God, that we would not just play it safe, but that we be obedient to what your word is saying to us, oh God. In the name of Jesus, amen.